Okay, the poem that we want to focus today on is The Definition of Love by Andrew Marvel. So, did you read the poem and did you enjoy it? Okay, the poem, well, as you know, was written by Andrew Marvel, and Marvel was a sort of metaphysical poet. However, many of his poems do not enjoy any similarity to the poetry of John Donne, the founder of metaphysical poetry. So, but the reality about the poetry of Marvel is that Marvel's tone in all his poems is quite clear, and I mean, love is the main subject of most of his poems. So it is like a romanticizing practice of love, so that it is not that patriarchal love that may be far-fetched, so that the lover was always, suffering from the behavior of the beloved, that how the beloved could ignore him and how he would suffer. So, however, his anti-patriarchal, we can say, attitude makes him a different poet in the context of the poetry of the 17th century. So in the poem we have some personifications, and here despair, hope, and fate all have been personified in order to control the love life of the poet. And then you see that the hope has been likened to a bird that has a very fragile and weak wings. And despair, or hopelessness, is the father, or maybe the origin, of love. And impossibility is just a mother of love. So the true love, he believes, is never realized. So this is the the agent of impossibility that runs through the love affairs, finally causing the dome of love to come down. Okay, so let's see how the poem is going to make us happy with reading it. So, but you know that Andrew Marvell is very much interested in some particular subjects in his poetry. So his poetry is a matrix that includes intellectuality, paradox, hyperbole, exaggeration, and sometimes he refers to a range of scientific subjects and terminology, so that all of these complexities may make his poetry a type of difficult poetry to understand. However, his poetry does not refer to religious dogma or Christianity that much, but however, you can find some traces of Christian ideologies in his work. So do you have access to the text of the poem now? You can find it here. Okay, so let's go for the poem. Okay, the definition of love by Andrew Marvell. My love is of a birth as rare as 'tis or object strange and high, it was begotten by despair upon impossibility. So tell me your ideas about this part of the poem. We should go down to the end of the poem gradually, yes? So who wants to talk about it first? Yes, Fikri Badian Shuaili. I have unlocked it, but you know that there are 21 people in this class, and this is not a nice policy that only some few people talk in the course of the class, and the rest of the people are entirely silent.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Regarding the poem, the definition of love, it talks about the nature of the love, which exists between the poet and his beloved. The poet regards this love as being perfect and therefore unattainable. The poet, first of all, makes his readers acquainted with the parentage of this love. And this love, the poet says, is of rare birth. It is the offspring of the marriage, despair, and impossibility. And also, only resolute despair could have produced such a divine love. In the case of love like this, maybe hope would prove be completely vain and futile because this love can never be achieved. The poet in the next lines tells that it is the hostility of fate which is responsible for not permitting him and his beloved to be united. Also, fate is always jealous of perfect lovers and never allows them to be united. A union between two perfect lovers would be fatal below, due to the power and authority of fate. Also, fate has these two lovers as far apart from each other as the North Pole and the South Pole are from each other. These lovers can never come to the fact that they are the pivot round which the whole round of love revolves.
Okay, thank you. That's enough.
Yes.
So, but I think that I mean there is a point latent in the stanza of the first stanza of the poem, and that is the reflection of a Renaissance thought that the Renaissance people in the 17th century, in the early 17th century, would believe that there was always a sinister, demonish force, internalized in human fate. So, and it was a kind of maybe perhaps it had some religious roots in Christianity that fate is always a tempting, devilish, maybe force that does not allow human being to reach salvation. And this salvation, of course, is not just a religious salvation that may be a kind of transcendental, success to the to heaven, to God. It is even any pleasure that could be maybe a part of human nature, part of human psyche, that you definitely, as a person, as a human being, love somebody, or somebody may love you. And they would believe in the Renaissance that even the fate is so jealous that it would not allow people to love each other. That is the somehow the most obvious right of all human beings. So this is, I think, this part of the poem is absolutely a Renaissance-driven attitude that shows how the poet could rely on those dogmatic, maybe, presentation of human fate and the way that human fate would stand in the way of human pleasure. Okay, so let's read the second paragraph, the second stanza. So the stanza continues. I mean, the second stanza reads, magnanimous despair alone could show me so divine a thing, where feeble hope could ne'er have flown, but vainly flapped its tinsel wing. So what does it mean? So I do not really need the meaning of line by line of the poem. I just need the holistic meaning of the paragraph or of the stanza. So you may refer to lines too, but that is not our policy. Yes. Magnanimous as despair alone could show me so divine a thing, where feeble hope could ne'er have flown, but vainly flapped its tinsel wing. Pegah Majidi, yes, I will unlock you. Please go on.
Hello, sir. Do you hear me?
Hello, I do hear you.
Yes. Actually, this part is, the second stanza is referring to the divine love that is actually depicted in this poem. And I can say this is, it actually wants to show a perfect love, but it is unwelcome by fate. And also, it actually refers to some hopelessness, and this actually refers to a divine love, not only a physical love, and also it actually it is related to spiritual unions, but not physical ones, and also justice. I can just answer to this.
Actually, when you talk about the spirituality of love, I should give you some hint, and that is in romantic and in metaphysical poetry, there was a very canonical similarity, and that similarity is that in both of these forms of poetry, when the poet speaks of love, the love is not essentially divine or spiritual. Because in the 17th century, especially the context of metaphysical poetry, the poet would firmly believe that the earthly love, the physical love, paves the way for spiritual love and reaching God. And this is the realm that the poet or the lover should go beyond sometime. And of course, there should be some interpretative, maybe, recognitions of the way that we may understand the poem in light of the physical or spiritual love. And you can say that it is a spiritual love, not physical. But it does not make sense all the time. it could be an interpretation that the physical love is denied here, and the focus of the poet is put on the emphatic want of spiritual love. But you should not think about all poems that were written by metaphysical poets in this way. Okay.
Sir, can I add something?
Yes.
Actually, what you said about spiritual love and physical love just reminded me of the theory of the ladder of love by Plato, which is exactly the same thing that you mentioned, and it is actually starts in fact, this in the love. The definition of love is actually defined like a ladder, which starts by steps of physical love and step by step goes to the spiritual love. And what you said exactly reminded me that, but I think in peak period, love is defined more physically than before. And if I'm mistaken, just correct me. Thank you.
Well, actually, it is a very relevant idea to think about the nature of metaphysical love related to that Platonic idea that would examine the ascending love as a practice that requires, I mean, as its prerequisite actually, it requires the practice of physical love. It could be true, and however, we do know that that metaphysical poets were highly under the influence of Nietzsche and not Aristotle, but with Nietzsche. Plato, but not Aristotle. So this is a very maybe generous conception of the meaning of love as the metaphysical poets had understood in light of some theories or ideas of Plato. However, we do not have any evidence to demonstrate that the metaphysical poets believed in the depth of the ideas of Plato. Okay, yes, and here the poet says that the magnanimous despair, and the powerful, mighty despair, is a very a strong impediment that may stand in the way of the realization of the love, and it is an agent that can defeat hope. So hope is always defeated, as it says, in confrontation with despair or hopelessness. Okay, and the next stanza. And yet I quickly might arrive where my extended soul is fixed, but fate does iron, wedges drive, and always crowds itself betwixt. So what is, again, it's a complaint of the power and interference of despair. And fate, of course. So fate and despair are two impeding elements that do not want or do not allow the lovers to be united. So who wants to talk about this? Yes, Safa and then Zahra Hudan. Safa Saddam. And I unlocked you too, Zahra Hudan. Yes. I can't hear you.
Hello, sir. May I?
Who is this?
I'm Hudan. Hello, sir.
Oh, yes. Go on, please.
Actually, okay. Let Mr. Safa speak.
So, well, that's fine.
Can I add, please?
Yes.
Yes, Doctor. Actually, I see that this stanza look like divided for two parts. The first part is to include the two lines. The poet give us the expression that the lover have the power, and the other part, the other two lines, it's look like related to the destiny or to the fact, so that he want to tell us that he have the power in the two premium lines. Then in the other lines, the destiny always prevent the lover to achieve or to reach or approach their target. Yeah. This is from my side. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. And Hudan, would you please?
Actually, I wanted to look at this poem from this point of view. As I was studying, this poem is written as a response to John Donne's valediction or forbidding mourning, and it is in the same form and meter. And we can say that because it is about a definition, the subject of, let's say, in a formal manner, which is suitable for a definition. It is nothing to do with desire and fulfillment, but it actually deals with despair. And it talks about the impossibility of desire which have ever been fulfilled. And if you want to understand the whole gist of this poem, we can say it is talking about the unity of souls of lovers, which is impossible, actually. And it says that fate and despair controls the world of love, and it prevents this unity of souls. And actually, here let's say the beloved is matched by the lover's despair, which is a kind of paradox we can see here, which you spoke about magnanimous. But here about the later stanza that you read, we can say that, again, the unity of the souls is not available to man. And with this claim, we can say that it is a sign of imperfection. And here, when in line 10, for example, he uses the words extended and fixed, he's saying that, let's say, the soul of the lovers is described as extended and fixed. And actually, it suggests that this desire for union and stability, but again, the whole image, which we can say, there is a kind of allusion to John Donne's conceits, which he had, for example, when he spoke about the expansion of gold and the pair of compasses, which all claim this unity of souls of lovers. And this unity is actually impossible because it always keeps the lovers separate, and the lovers are somehow distant as two poles of the compasses. And we can say that this whole world of love somehow is rounding around it. And well, if we want to unite these two worlds, we cannot. It is impossible. It will never reach each other. And actually, from this stand, I can go to the Nanza if you want, but this was my point of view.
Okay, yes, and the fate actually is again the overwhelming condition that does not allow the lovers to unite. So this is the continuity of that stanza that we read before, and here the fourth stanza. For fate with jealous eye does see two perfect loves, nor let them close their union would her ruin be, and her tyrannic power depose. So what is the poet talking here about? What is the tyranny and what is the perfect love?
May I continue, sir?
Yes.
Actually, I think, again, as I was talking, in this stanza, again, we can see this, let's say, mathematical figures, which, for example, we can say that oblique is the ordinary love and parallel lines is the perfect love, respectively. And it just reminds me of one thing I remember from your classes. You said once that this love is like... sorry, I just forget the word, pargar. They are just this, and they are rounding around themselves. They never reach each other in a circle. They are two circles with two different diameters, maybe.
Yes, and that is another poem. That is a poem by, I think, John Donne, if I'm not mistaken. Valediction, I mean, forbidden mourning, or something like canonization, maybe. Yes, it is two parallel lines. I mean, these two parallel lines are the lovers. So the thing that does not stand the union of these two people or these two lovers are two. One is fate and the other is despair. So however, we know that probably because of the Renaissance ideologies that people had for the function or the role of a phase in people's misery, it is, I mean, the agent of despair is a function of the agent of fate. So that is a kind of classification of these two impediments that the poet is representing here. So yes, and he says very plainly, he is crying out the pernicious role of fate. That is jealous eye does see, the jealous eye does see two perfect loves, I mean the lovers. So, and the fate does not allow them, does not let them to be unified. Their union would her ruin be. So it says that the union of these two lovers should be the result of the malice, of the ruining malice of the of fate. So, and then we come to and here the union would be her ruin be, and her tyrannic power depose. So yes, she says that the tyrannic power of fate will depose them, deposing the lovers, I mean, from the position of love, just wanting to make them feel desperate and disillusioned about love, so that they can just leave each other and everybody, takes his own way to his destiny. Okay, the next paragraph. And therefore her decrees of steel us, as the distant poles have placed, though love's whole world on us doth wheel, not by themselves to be embraced. What does it mean? Could you explain? Well, Fikri, you have been speaking some minutes ago, and now I just wonder if other people want to participate in discussion. Maybe.
Yes, yeah.
Just wait to see if others are interacting.
Okay.
Mr. Imani, Muhammad Raza Imani, would you like to tell us something about it? Zahra Muhammad, let's see if your microphone works. I've unlocked you, Zahra Muhammad. Okay. I think there is something wrong with your computer again. So we don't hear you, I'm afraid. Okay, Safa Sata, would you continue if you want?
Yes, yes, Doctor. Yeah, for the fourth line, I see that the poet, as he mentioned earlier, about his theory, physical theory about the two poles that couldn't come together. Yeah, he wants to describe the two levels as impossibility to be together according to the mathematics or the physical theory. So, as the poet has mentioned earlier, an inflexible and the same decrease of the fat has kept the poet and his beloved apart. Here the poet employ his famous metaphysical concept of the North Pole and the South Pole. Just as the two poles cannot come together or to come closer, the poet in this stanza describe and give example about the lady. His lady cannot be united with him or with the lover, even though the two are the pilots, or the two are the two pivots around with the word of love. So I see the poet give example or support his part with the metaphysical thoughts by make the reader imagine the two poles, the north and the south one, that couldn't come together to give the impossibility for lover to live together or to live with. Yeah, thank you so much, Alba.
Okay, yes. Thank you. And then let's go for the analysis of the stanza, that it is again a complaint of the poet about the jealousy of fate that does not allow the two lovers to unite. So just that there are two definitions, two words like steel and decrease of a steel, as the distant poles have placed. It says that it is like there are like two parallel poles of a steel that cannot meet each other because they are, they are spaced by a powerful fate that does not, contribute to the joy of loving each other. So though love's whole world on us both will, not by themselves to be embraced. So what is the line saying actually? Yes, exactly. It is the impossibility of intimacy that is like a wheel of the world, just like they are under the wheel of the world, the firmament of the world. That is just like a force impeding them to unite. Yes, that's right. Unless the giddy heaven fall and earth some near convulsion tear, and us to join the world should all be crammed into a planisphere. What is planisphere? So here, again, as I told you, sometimes Marvel is attached to the use of some technical words, and here it is, wishing that there should be an earthquake that tears all restraints that fate has put in the way. So unless the giddy heaven fall means the sky comes down and earth some near convulsion tear. So convulsion, what is the meaning of convulsion here? So what is convulsion? He says that the only condition that may give rise to the possibility of their union is the falling of a sky. It means the sky and all the stars come down to the earth. Or convulsion actually means earthquake, or an earthquake shakes the world so that everything falls down and all things are broken in the world. And then he continues.
Yes.
And asked to join, the world should all be crammed into a planisphere. Planisphere means a plane sphere, actually. This is a two-word combination. A plane or planning, that comes from plane, the sphere. It means that the world is changed from its global form into a flat surface. Means all barriers are taken. Yes, it could be true that when it becomes, a flat surface, definitely the surface that is flat has two ends. One the lover and the other the beloved. So they do not need to be, they do not need to wait for somebody to come to save them, and of course, or just to provide all conditions for them in the best way to be united. So, but the reality is that all of these possibilities are just imaginative, and it is impossible that any of them would be realized. So they will remain all the time like two parallel lines that will never meet. Although their love is perfect, it is not sufficient for them. They say that although we are perfect lovers, there are always some barriers that may want maliciously to provide us with, or to prevent us actually from being together all the time. So what about the closing stanza? As lions so loves, oblique may well themselves in every angle greet, but ours so truly parallel, though infinite, can never meet. So he says there are two lines, always two lines that are just close to each other. Finally, they may meet somewhere. But our love is a perfect one, and we are just like two lines that are totally parallel. If the lines are not parallel, if one of them is a bit deviated towards the other, finally they will meet somewhere. But if the deviation is not going to function and the lines are absolutely parallel to each other, finally they should not think about any hope for union, because they will not meet ever. Therefore the love which us doth bind, but fate so envious debars, is the conjunction of the mind and the opposition of the stars. So he says that although although fate is standing in the way of our love, in our unification, and it is impossible for us to defeat him because it is so almighty that we cannot defeat him, we can imagine ourselves in mind as two unified people who have been, experiencing maybe some suffering, and now the suffering is lifted and we are together forever. So this is finally the closing spiritual imagination that the poet offers in order to make us sympathize with him, that okay, although you do not meet ever because of the parallel directions you are going, and of course the we can say effective interference of fate, you should be hopeful that you have yourself, you can imagine yourself in intimacy with your lover, because it is possible for you to expect this conjunction of love, as it says, conjunction of mind, in your heart, if it is not physically and externally possible. Yes, Mr. Imani, this is a Persian equivalent for this poem that could be textually important. for those who want to discuss the poem from an intertextual perspective. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Fikri, do you want to say something?
Yes, sir. If you excuse me.
Yes, that's fine.
I think.
Go on.
Yes. Okay. I think there is a use of conceit or imagination in the poem, and when the poet says his love can be achieved only if three conditions are fulfilled. The first one is pregnancy must cost.
What is the first one? I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. And the second, the earth should be torn by some fresh conversion. And the third, the whole world should be projected to a planet. As these three conditions are possible to fulfill, the lovers cannot be united. So the two lovers, or the loves between them, the loves between him and his beloved to the parallel lines, which can never meet, and also apply in all geometrical angles. In the same way, only the of girls, adults, lovers can be satisfied. The two lines of the poem contain a metaphysical imagination, or what we call it conceit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, what we talked about conceit before, and I told you that conceit was a very common rhetoric technique that metaphysical poets employed in all poetry. So, however, John Donne and Andrew Marvell are quite famous for employing conceit in their poetry. And that is, yeah, not surprising that Howe's conceit could be, for instance, the conceit of parallel lines, or the conceit of decree, I mean, the iron and steel decrees of fate could be enriching, elements in the poem, making you enjoy a wide range of interpretations of the poem. Okay, so just give me some seconds. I should download something if I can, and then I will send it to you. Copy. Sorry. So, but I have found some intertextual, maybe, grounds in the poem. So, for instance, the idea of oblique and parallel lines is not the innovation of another innovation of Andrew Marvell. Before him, two important poets of England, especially Massenger, Philip Massenger, and Sir Philip Sidney, had used this image too. So that is evidence that probably Andrew Marvell was well acquainted with the classical, productions of his predecessors like Sidney and Massenger and Shakespeare and so on. So that idea of the conceit of parallel and oblique lines was intertextually known maybe by Andrew Marvell. We do not have any evidence for this, but it is possible that he had enjoyed reading Sidney and Massinger and the early Renaissance poets of England. Well, let's see. Okay, I just wonder if you do have any questions, or is there anything that you want to add? I decided to give you only one poem by Andrew Marvell because I know that probably you have read most of his poems in your other courses or in your BA. However, the definition of love is a poem that is not found on the syllabi sometimes in Iran. So I just wanted you to be, the first students recently who read and analyze it. The definition of poem, definition of love, does not sound to be a very successful poem. However, well, nowadays at least, it is not considered a successful poem. But the European mind usually looks for the undermined or unacknowledged, or at least less acknowledged words, and we should follow this procedure to enrich our understanding of poetry, not just only through the achievements of poets, but by minor poets and their achievements too. Okay, so, well, I have nothing else to add about the poem. If you don't have any questions, we can terminate our session today. Any ideas, anything else about this poem? Okay, Mohammed, Mona, Zahra, all of you were silent today, and Huwaida, I expected you to speak, all of you, but for the next session, please check your computers to see if you can connect to the audio or not. I need your interactions because this is a timetable actually based, class that should be organized very, very well. Okay, I shall see you next week, and have a nice day.